You're joking, aren't you? It's the Teesside Chef. Here I am at the Galerie Lafayette to pay a visit to Eclairs de Genie to try out the world-famous eclairs from Christophe Adam, but this was the wrong shopping centre. But it was a happy mistake in the end, and you'll find out why later. And I'll be unboxing all of his wonderful creations later on in this video, so watch out for that one, although the camera work is not the best, so don't say you weren't warned. But first I'm going to show you my choux pastry recipe, although to be perfectly honest, it's not really mine. Choux pastry generally sticks to the same basic principles, so at least you know this recipe will work as it's tried and tested and fairly standard. So instead of me going on about it for a billion years, why don't I tell you what's in it, eh? So I went in with 125 millilitres of water and 125 millilitres of milk, along with half a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now I've just added 125 grams of butter, and I'm going to let that melt in my pan here before bringing it all to a boil, and now I can take it off the heat and add 150 grams of bread flour, and bread flour does work best for choux pastry, and I'm adding half of the flour first for some reason, but you can stick it all in at once if you like. But either way, you definitely do need to sift your flour and give it a really good stir in, and I hope you've got strong arms for this, because you're going to get a workout here, and I'm really not joking, because we've got to cook this now on a medium heat while stirring all the time, and we need to do this for around 5 minutes, and that might not seem like a long time, but you'll be clock watching while doing this, more than I did when I used to do menial factory work. And the mix is just starting to catch on the pan there, so it's nearly knocking off time now. But continue cooking away and stirring away as your arm begins to burn until you can hear a gentle sizzle in the pan, and the mix begins to catch a little bit more, and then you'll know it's ready and you can have a little rest. But you can't rest for too long here, because we're going to get the cooked choux pastry into a mixer with a paddle attachment and knock it around a little bit to cool it down, because we need to add 250 grams of beaten egg to it, and if it's too hot and we add the egg too quickly, it'll be absolute pandemonium in your mixing bowl. But in any event, if you add the egg very slowly while you're mixing, you should be okay. You don't want to mix too quickly at this juncture, because you don't want to beat too much air into the dough, so just cool your jets a bit would be my advice. And you can go in and scrape the sides down regularly if you want to be extra conscientious here. And once all the egg is added in and is well incorporated, your dough should look like this, nice and smooth and glossy, just like my I better not say. And after a final scrape down, here is a good tip for you to know that your choux pastry has the right consistency, and that's to go in with your paddle, give the dough a good stir, and then slowly lift the paddle out, and if you have a V like this, then you're good to go. If the dough breaks and seems drier, then you'll need to add a little bit more egg. And I'm going to make eclairs first, and we need to prevent cracking as much as possible, and using a piping nozzle like this one is the single best way to help you do that, although cracks are probably inevitable, especially if you're doing this for the first time. And once the dough is in the piping bag, make sure you squeeze all the air out of it. And I did this here, sort of semi-successfully. And if you'd like to check out some more of what Paris has to offer, then you can have a look at some of my other videos. And if you don't care about the City of Lights at all, I do promise that this is my last Paris video. And now our piping bag has got the old turtle's head, we know we're ready to start piping these eclairs. So I brought a standard oven tray and I turned it upside down to help with better heat distribution apparently. Although you should use a silicone mat with holes in, it's specially made for this job. But I'm not made of money, so I'm just going down the old standard baking paper route here. So I'm just sticking it down with a little bit of the dough in each corner. And I did draw some lines on this paper to help me with the piping. And pipe with an even pressure and take your time. And my piping skills are pretty rudimentary, but even I can do this if I'm careful. So you should be able to do it too. And these lines I've drawn on this paper here are 12 centimeters long. And this recipe gave me around 20 to 24 eclairs. So I had to split them across 2 trays, but your results may vary, depending on the size of the tip that you use. And a soggy finger will tidy up the ends of these eclairs smashing. But you know, eclairs are very tricky to get perfect. Your oven temperature and airflow can affect the finished product. Some people swear by spraying the eclairs with water before they go in the oven. Others say freeze them first, or spray them with oil. Perfect eclairs with no cracks are going to be very difficult to achieve for a beginner. So I'll show you later how best to use this dough to prevent you from ballsing it all up. And once your eclairs are ready and you've either frozen them or sprayed them with water or oil or God knows what else, they need to go in a very well preheated oven at between 170 and 180 degrees Celsius with no fan on, and that's around 340 to 360 Fahrenheit, for around 45 minutes. But let's check out what perfect eclairs should look like with this collection from Christophe Adam at Eclairs de Genie. €50 this lot cost me. I nearly had a heart attack. We've got salted caramel here, lemon meringue, pecan vanilla, strawberry cream, passion fruit, and Mexican chocolate. I didn't know Mexico was famous for its chocolate, but you live and learn. And these eclairs did look a lot more impressive in person, like, to be fair. But the poor natural light in my very cheap hotel doesn't really do them justice. And in this second box we've got apricot cream, pistachio, a chocolate caramel cream thing that's not an eclair, so ignore that, and another salted caramel. And I got two of the salted caramel ones because it is apparently the most popular flavour and the best seller. So there's a nice close-up for you. And this was a nice one with just the right amount of salt and a lovely caramel flavour. But it was the lemon meringue one I was looking forward to the most. And I love the way the meringue is piped on top of these. It looks as pretty as a picture, that does. The pecan vanilla was very vanilla-y, if that's a word, and you can see all the vanilla bean seeds in there in the cream. But my favourite was this Mexican chocolate eclair. And I love the way that looks on top there with the chocolate effect. And I also loved how the Lafayette shopping centre looked on top after I'd come here by mistake, because the eclair shop was across the street in the Lafayette food court. But I only realised that after I stumbled onto this roof terrace here to be rewarded with the best view of Paris. It's certainly better than this view from the first level of the Eiffel Tower, because this view doesn't have the Eiffel Tower in it, and I was too scared to go any higher, as I explained in my French eggs video. And the view from Sacré-Cœur is nice, but it would be nicer if you could see through the trees to the right here and see the tower. Anyway, as you can see, I didn't exactly experience eclair heaven in my own kitchen. Mine do have a few cracks on the outside, but they're pretty perfect inside. But my tip for a beginner desperate to make choux pastry would be to use this simple nozzle here and make profiteroles. Because profiteroles are in essence extra easygoing, and external eclair excellence is not essential. And that's a lot of words that begin with E in one sentence. So I've piped these out and flattened out the little spikes there with a wet finger, and I'm just going to lob these in the oven for 30 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. And after about half an hour, when they come out, they'll be golden brown and there'll be no inspections going on, because these can be a little bit rustic, can't they? And they look pretty good to me, and I'm sure if you make these, you'll be a lot more relaxed too. So I'm going to cut a little hole in these at the bottom to let the steam out before cracking them back in my now turned off oven for around 10 minutes to crisp up a little bit. And as you can see, they've come out lovely with a nice cavernous space in the middle for whatever filling you want to use. And that hole that we cut earlier is a brilliant entry point for our filling, and I'm using my creme pâtissière recipe to fill these, and there is a link in the description below for that. And that video is only 90 seconds long, so it won't cost you much time, like. And to finish these off, a simple ganache with an equal weight of chocolate to cream works great with the custardy cream filling that you've just learnt about. And I went half dark chocolate and half milk chocolate here. And I reckon that dipping these is the best part of this whole recipe, although you will more than likely get your fingers covered in chocolate, and if you do that, you may well find that your fingers end up in your mouth. And it was finger-licking good sharing my Paris trip with you all, and I hope you get to go there one day yourself to check out some of the great food I've been banging on about. Thanks for watching the Paris Chronicles, everyone, and I'll be back next time with some non-Paris-y stuff. So until then, look after yourselves, eh? Ta-ra.